Hello and welcome back or welcome to the channel. I'm Loudguns and in today's vid we're going to be taking a full look at contested zones and executive hangars. These are one of the best sources of loot and ship components in game, and you can even walk away with a rare ship to boot. Now despite the name, I am not a particularly PvP centric player. I like a proper mix of all things Star Citizen, and while over my years of gaming I have dabbled in a bit of Counter-Strike, COD and Battlefield, FPS games have never been my be all and end all. As such, I did wonder if I was the right person to make this guide, when there are other people out there who are just so much better at putting their crosshairs exactly on their head and pulling the trigger. However, I arrived at the conclusion that it was worth it, since I know that there are a lot of folks out there who have a perceived lack of PvP skill that will put them off even trying contested zones. And I'm here to say that if I can do it, then you can definitely do it too. So if this sounds good to you, grab a cup of tea while I roll the intro, then let's get into it. I've been making Star Citizen guides for a little while now, and despite this being somewhat new ground for me in the PvP realm, I am going to keep the same approach that I have for all my others. We'll go from the bottom up, covering the overall concept, gear requirements, and every location in detail. So if you are looking for a specific element, for instance you just want to know the route around the Checkmate CZ, then please do feel free to use the chapter markers to skip around, rather than feeling compelled to watch from front to back. But one thing that I will jump on straight away is a question that I know I'm going to see in the comments if I don't address it at the start. Can I do this solo? In short, yes and no. You could theoretically get through all of the contested zone and Exec Hangar gameplay on your own, but to do that would take a fair amount of skill, a decent slice of luck, and brute force. However good you are, there's always going to be someone out there who's better, and quite often a team of 2 players will beat a solo one in a gunfight, even if there is a bit of a skill mismatch. You'll just greatly increase your chances of success by joining forces with another player or 2. Teams of 2 seem to be the most common, and 3 would give you a decided edge. Now of course within our org we have occasionally zerged the contested zones with 10 plus people, but honestly going in with too many takes a lot of the fun out of it, and the times you would encounter groups like this are very rare. So throughout this guide I've been operating with a small team. Special thanks go to Ravnak, Flint and Johnny for being my teachers and chaperones on this one. But for all the contested zone stuff, I've only been going in with a team of 2 or 3, and for the final Exec Hangar run we did it as 4. I didn't want to make it unrealistic or draw comments along the lines of course you can do it easily with 20 people to watch your back. If you're looking to find your team, feel free to hop into the Frontier Consolidated Discord via the link in the video description. There's no pressure to join our org, and you'll find plenty of folks keen to group up for this sort of content. With that said, let's start with a quick overview of the contested zones and Exec Hangars. It's all pretty straightforward, but it might be just a little overwhelming if you haven't looked at them much before. At 3 of Pyro's space stations, Checkmate, Ruin and Orbituary, you will find a contested zone, a self-contained arena where you'll find a mixture of PvE combat versus human NPCs and Copions, and PvP against other players. Your main objective is to make it through the CZ and escape with comp boards. There are 7 of these in total, 3 at Checkmate and 2 each at Ruin and Orbituary. Once you've got a full set of the cards 1 through 7, you'll be able to head up to the derelict Pyam Executive Hangar asteroid base, and unlock it to enter and claim one of 5 executive ships with advanced components. And the hangars themselves also have a bunch of tasty loot lying around, including grade A military and stealth components that are no longer sold in the shops. Within the contested zones, it's not just NPCs and players barring your way. There are also 3 door types that block off certain parts of the zone, including access to the comp boards. The simplest kind are fuse doors. These require you to insert a fuse, many of which you can find around the CZ, although there are also easier ways that we'll look at in the gear section. Then there are blue security doors, and these require a blue keycard, which can be obtained from the keycard printers located within the zone itself. And finally, we've got red security doors. These will require a red Supervisor keycard, which you can only acquire from the Supervisor asteroid bases. In this guide, we'll look at every element in more detail, but I just wanted to kick things off with a bird's eye view of the whole chain. As well as the main loot of the executive ships and grade A components from the executive hangars, there is an absolute ton of goodies squirreled away in the contested zones. You'll find various crates and weapon chests dotted around the routes containing all sorts of equipment including rare guns, attachments and armor pieces. You'll also find a loot area at the end of each zone that includes ship components. These tend to be lower level, grade B to C, mil-spec and stealth parts. So not quite as good as the stuff that you find in the hangars, but still certainly of interest to many people. The focus of this guide is going to be on the most direct routes to the comp boards. If I stop to highlight every nook and cranny, then we would be here for a while. However, just a couple of tips worth mentioning. Small yellow loot crates tend to contain the upgraded components like the Scorched and the Tweaker scopes and mods. And large orange crates are the best ones for unique armor sets. Also, make sure to take a look at the various guns that spawn in the open weapon crates, as even if you don't want the gun itself, many of these will have the upgraded attachments on them. Aside from that, if looting's really your thing, then just make sure to bring the biggest backpack that you possibly can, and search every nook and cranny and alternative side corridor around the zone. You'll be sure to find more than you can handle. Speaking of guns, let's talk about gearing up for the zones. First up, you are going to want a decent set of armor. Obviously, if you're at the more skilled end of things, you might value the extra speed that light or medium sets afford you, but I for one value being more of a bullet sponge with my heavy set. Make sure that you equip a backpack to carry any loot you find along the way, and to allow you to equip 2 rifles. Even if you only take one in with you, it will give you an extra protected slot for another looted one. For weapons, it really is dealer's choice, and as Rav said in one of our chats during this, a good sign that CIG are getting FPS weapon balance right is that there are a lot of different opinions about what people run with. My personal favourite at the moment is the P4AR. Previously I really liked the FS9 LMG, but the P4 has a far quicker scoping time, which helps a lot in PvP for me. I've kitted it out with a Scorch scope and compensator combo. Then some of the time I'm also using the P8AR. It only has a 15-shot magazine and semi-automatic fire mode, but is a great marksman rifle for taking down the NPCs from range. Plus I just happen to think it's one of the coolest looking guns in the game at the moment, and rule of cool prevails outside of just ships. To top it off, you'll want a stack of med pens, a med gun, a tractor beam and a load of ammo. My recommendation would be to fill every slot you have with magazines and then stack some more in your backpack. It's good to know at the outset that pressing Alt and 1 will repool your ammunition. It will take a bit of time, so don't try it mid-fight, but it will refill your half-emptied magazines. And this lets you reload often without too much worry. Finally, for the gear section, I would also consider preloading some fuses for the fuse doors. There are always a bunch of them in the zones themselves, but they can easily be acquired from the Platinum Bay store at Stanton Gateway Station, or just by yanking them out of ships like the Cutlass Black. Going in with a few fuses ready in your backpack just saves time, and it reduces the risk that you get shot in the back while picking one up, so I definitely recommend doing it. So I think the best place to start is with the Supervisor asteroid bases, where we can acquire red keycards. You will need one of these to make a successful run at Checkmate and Orbituary's contested zones. There are 2 of these locations in Pyro, Supervisor 3-5 and 3-4. They're exactly the same, but the good thing is you can either look to hit up both in a session to grab 2 keycards, or you can head to the other location if one of them's just looking a little spicy with ship PvP. As you approach the asteroid base, there may be some hostile NPCs that you'll need to clear, particularly if you intend to make the return trip in your ship, but they shouldn't pose too much of a threat. What you really want to be on the lookout for at this stage is other players looking to swipe the red keycard for themselves. Now the turrets around these bases are going to be hostile to you, so your safest bet is to park on the underside of the base. There's usually a fair few abandoned ships around here that should give you a good indication of where it's safe to park up. Then make your way in EVA to up through the struts of the station. There are a couple of landing pads which you'll pass which serve as a good marker that you're heading in the right way. Up above these you'll find the entrance into the facility. Cycle the airlock and head inside. Head straight across the bridge in the centre, and as with lots of the segments of this guide, to make the route a bit clearer we usually cleared most of the NPCs out of the way beforehand, so just be ready to be fighting all your way in. Take a left hand turn, and rather than heading up the stairs, look for the pathway underneath it. Keep an eye out for laser trip mines on your way, and just pop them either by shooting the mine or by tractor beaming a loose crate through the trap. Keep heading straight and then look for the passageway to your left. Head through the door and follow the corridor around to the right and you'll come to a fuse door. Just be sure to check the balcony behind you, as this is a great spot for campers. Now if you did forget to bring a fuse with you, there is an easy one to get nearby. Use the stack of orange crates to mantle up onto the mezzanine level, and then jump and mantle, just hammer spacebar as you fly through the air to parkour your way up to the top. Head into this air vent and follow the path around, and then drop down this hatch here. On the wall is a fuse box. Admittedly it must have been looted recently, but 9 times out of 10 you would find a fuse here, plus a couple of extra loot crates as a bonus. But to save yourself the hassle, you of course brought a couple of spare fuses in your backpack, didn't you? So we can just go ahead and interact with the fuse slot below this panel. There's sometimes a few seconds of delay while the game thinks about things. You should pull the fuse from your backpack and pop it in the door, which will then open up. Just to buy yourself a few extra seconds if worst came to worst and you've got other players on your heels, get into the habit of hitting close on any of the doors behind you. The office in front of us contains the red keycard printer. Be sure to just quickly check down either side of it, but then head round to the right. Climb up these stacked boxes and mantle up into the air vents. The next jump is a bit long, so holster your weapon to give yourself a bit more distance, then sprint jump across. Climb on up into the air vent and then drop down through the hatch to your right. This will put you into the back room, and from there you can head into the front to access the red keycard printer. As we arrived here, this one's already just been used. They have a half-hour cooldown between uses, so since there's 10 minutes to go, we're just going to wait it out. In the back room you'll be really hard to spot to anyone entering, and you'll be in a prime position to ambush them and defend the spot, since they're forced to come through the vent. And with a little video editing magic, that wait is over. So we can just interact with the printer screen, and after 10 seconds it will spit you out a shiny new red Supervisor keycard. Just hit store on that one. Now the choice here is entirely yours. You can make your way back to your ship and fly off into the sunset, potentially having to fight your way through. Or you can do the cowardly but probably smarter thing and exit to menus from this point. When you spawn back in, you'll be back at the station you last left, and the keycard will be safely preserved in your backpack. With your red keycards in hand, you can approach the zones in whatever order you like. I'm going to go in order of the comp board numbers, which means kicking things off with Checkmate, where we'll find 1, 2 and 3. I'm going to be using these brilliant maps that Terada has made and posted on the SC Wiki, as they really do help to visualise the route and make the whole thing a lot less imposing. Checkmate is essentially split into 2 pathways, a blue route and a red route, and it can be approached in a couple of ways. Either you can divide them up and just do the red route, then just the blue route, or you can take an express route and do all 3 comp boards in one go. All in one may sound good, but it is going to mean more risk, so to start with we'll look at just the lower risk approach of doing them one by one. For running the red route, you'll want to pack one of your red keycards, and as before, chucking a few fuses into your backpack will just save you the hassle of getting them inside. We've got a choice of 2 entry points, and we'll be taking access 2. The paths converge quite soon into the zone, so there's not too much difference, but number 2 does have a slight advantage as the quiet door at Checkmate. The fuse box on the wall here is broken, so many people who are a bit less prepared will take elevator 4 instead. Don't ask me why they're 2 and 4, not 1 and 2, I have no idea. Head down in the elevator and make your way to the first airlock. You can then use the windows in the doors for a little peek, and then go ahead and cycle. Once inside the airlock, you'll be able to pull your weapons out as the armistice zone is ended. You can have another look through the next window to see if anyone's immediately on the other side, and then hit cycle on the center console to open it up. To the left is another elevator that can take you between the two entry points, so if you did forget a fuse, you can use that to go back in via access 4 instead. But follow the pathway straight forward and you'll come to that first fuse door. That's the broken fuse box on the left of it, but we're fine since we brought some spares in. So go ahead and insert one of those into the door. Push on to the main market street and watch out for the passageway to the left. That's where the two access points converge, so you might meet other players here. But we're just going to head straight up the stairs, and then we can follow the top walkway until we're opposite the red door. A sprint and a jump will have you across on the other side, if you remember to mantle in time. Throughout the zones, look out for these green arrows, as they'll point you towards where the comp boards are. Insert your red keycard into the slot on the door, and open sesame. Definitely make sure to shut these ones behind you. Keep an eye out for any overhangs and railings like these ones, as they're just a great spot for hostile players to lurk, and everyone loves the high ground. Assuming it's all clear, head on through the door to the end of the corridor. Watch out for the NPC swans on the catwalks. There are typically snipers up here who can do quite a bit of damage if you're not careful. And while this might look like it's going to be another parkour session, you actually just want to drop down on the path through the trash heap, and head straight on through the door at the bottom. Now head round to the right and through this door. I like to use the bits of graffiti like this burn yourself free one as little markers and confirmations that I've taken the right turn. The pathway is then pretty linear until you get to another section that feels like a market to me. As mentioned in the last section, for a lot of this we pre-cleared the NPCs. You still want to watch out for them respawning. And this is usually a pretty punchy gunfight with bad guys up in the high spots shooting down at you as you enter. From here though, you'll see more of the green arrows guiding you through the maze. So head on up the stairs, and then after a little indecision, take a left turn at the top and head past the greenhouse tunnel. Head in there if you want to see where they grow those little sea grubs you can eat. We'll revisit where this blue door goes later in the guide, but for now head through the corridor opposite, following this round to the right. Another green arrow is going to remind you to take the stairs down. At the foot of this you'll find the number 1 comp board printer. Activate the machine with F to begin fabricating your first card. Once that fabricates, grab it out of the printer and store it in your backpack. Then if you are looking to min-max, just hit exit to menu and log back in to wake up in the hab, where you can access your inventory and store that safely away. For the blue route, we're going to head in exactly the same way as with the red route, up until the point where the two entry paths converge. The fuse door with the fairy lights leads to a loot zone, but we're not too worried about looting spots in this guide, they're just everywhere. Instead, we're heading to the fuse door with the fire rats graffiti. If you did forget a fuse, you can always head up past the red door and head along the ledge to reach a fuse box, which is nearly always ready. The corridor immediately through the fire rats door splits at the end, but both ways link up again on the other side. Then push forward into the room with fire, and take a left-hand turn here, through the half-open doorway. Past this, you're going to see the blue security door. However, since we don't have a blue keycard, first we'll need to go and find the printer. Unlike the red ones, these are located in the zone itself. So head right, looking out for the graffiti of a fire rat, and follow the corridor round. This is all fairly linear. When you get to the junction, take the right-hand turn, following the sign to ventilation filtration. You'll see a little green X spray painted next to the sign giving you a hint. Straight ahead of us, there is the first of 2 blue card printers. There will often be NPCs hiding behind this, so it can pay to take the route to the right or left and flank them before trying to interact with it. Press F to interact and get yourself a shiny blue keycard. Now if we head back the way we came, and this time we go straight on, avoiding taking the path backwards. We can go through the door and bear right, through the half-closed blast door. You can see another green X up here, so head through the blast door and at the end you'll find another blue printer. Just watch those gantries round the outside. Now there are only 2 blue doors to get through, so this would be us set up with both that we need. And there is a printer on the other side of the first door. However, it makes sense to take both blue keycards from this side. 1, it helps build up spares, and 2, it prevents other people from following us, since they would now need to wait for the cooldown. Retrace your steps and head through the blue door, then straight through the next blue coloured blast door. Follow the sign for material processing round to the right, heading through the half-open blast door. NPCs will often spawn up on the railings to the right hand side, and behind these boxes ahead of us, so just be ready for a firefight. To the left you'll see a green X on the refinery sign, and through this way you will find the third blue keycard printer. You just follow the green arrows down the stairs and round. With this one, we'll have the last one that we need, and we'll have a spare to take out with us. Head on through the double set of blast doors at the end, and get ready for a decent gunfight. It can help to thin the herd a bit from the left here, before doubling back to take the pathway round to the right. Make the jump across the broken bridge. Below is certain death, but it's an easy jump, so I wouldn't worry too much. Then push on to the final blue security door and insert your keycard. Head through the shrine and you'll find an elevator at the opposite end which you can call. And when it arrives, hit observation deck, the only option on the panel. Take either path, as again they are going to converge and push into the main final chamber. It can help for at least one of you to take the high ground to fire down at any enemies coming out of the spawn closets. But through to the next section is the freight elevator and exit. But first you're going to want to drop off either side to get to the comp boards. You'll see some green arrows pointing the way on the walls. Grab yourself the comp board from one side and then head on around to the other side to get yourself both number 2 and number 3. And then follow the stairs back up to the main level. Dotted around this area, you're going to find a ton of guns and ship components. Like I said in the beginning, these don't tend to be grade A, but you'll find a decent selection of grade B stealth and military parts, which certainly aren't to be sniffed at. The elevator should be open, but it is sometimes bugged and closed. But if it is working, just chuck whatever you want onto it and send it down. These will then be in your inventory at the station. And then you can exit via the personnel elevator to the right of the freight elevator. This will drop you out in the bowels of the station, and you can make the drop, then follow the linear pathway around to be spat out next to the hangar elevators. And here you can just drop your comp boards and your spare keycard off into your local inventory. And speaking of that spare blue keycard, it will come in handy for an all-in-one run. For this, you'll want to take both a red keycard and one of your spare blue cards in as well. Then complete the red route as we showed at the start of this chapter. Once you've grabbed comp board number 1, head back up the stairs and retrace your steps until that blue security door. Insert your card and head on through. At the end of this room, you'll find an elevator that will take you straight to the observation deck, jumping you straight into the final section of the blue run, allowing you to get cards 2 and 3 as well as the loot. Now you could take a detour and collect a blue key card before going to the red door, but this is just enhancing your risks since you'll be walking around most of the CZ with a red card in your pocket, meaning someone could always jump you and nick it off you. So I would say it's definitely better to do the blue run once or twice, build up some spare blue cards, and then do an all-in-one run. With cards 1, 2 and 3 in the bank, it's time to head to our next stop, Orbituary, for cards 4 and 7. They couldn't make it logical and make these 4 and 5, they just had to be difficult. Orbituary is to my mind the simplest of the zones, with an option of 3 entrances that all converge at a crossroads with a single red door. Where exactly you enter matters little, so we're going to head in via access point 2, making sure that we bring a red keycard and some spare fuses with us. Get to the airlock and pull your gun, and then take a quick peek through the windows, cycle the doors, and head out into the main foyer. We're going to ignore either of the side tunnels and just push straight through the fuse door in front of us since we brought some spares. On the other side of that, you're going to jump across the ravine and push straight on through to the next set of blast doors. If you fall down the ravine, don't worry, there's a ramp. Finally, we'll come to a half-open blast door that opens out into the central chamber of the crossroads. Just be on the lookout for copions. They die pretty easily from range, but they're unpleasant if they get up close to you. Under the large Xeno-threat graffiti, there's the red security door that we want to push down to and open with our keycard. Dead players on the ground are always a sign that you just need to be that bit extra careful. And while the next path turns left and right a bit, the corridor is pretty linear, so just follow it along wherever it goes. At the end of this section, we can take a left and head down the stairs. You'll notice the first green arrow pointing the way on the wall next to the blast door, so head this way following the sign for the medical clinic. At the clinic's check-in office, you'll find the first blue keycard printer, which we'll want to activate to claim a card for later in the run. You can take a quick look through the rest of the clinic if you want to check out some more loot and witness a little organ harvesting, but to keep on the path to the comp boards, we want to take the fuse door on the left as we leave the medical area. Again, you'll see the green arrows pointing the way to the left. Head up into the vent, and if you're like me, successfully mantle on the third go. The next bit's a bit weird, but good weird, as we enter a small EVA section in the ventilation system. Just watch out for the trip mines as you float down the shaft, and you're looking for the vent at the bottom with the spray paint above it. Again, clear out any of the mines blocking your route, and then head into the shaft. You'll exit out onto the lower floors of the medical facility. Heading straight down to the end, you'll find a room with a green X sprayed over the top of it, with the comp board printer inside. The NPCs around aren't hostile, so you don't need to worry too much. Grab comp board number 4, and then retrace your steps, EVAing back up the shaft to rejoin the main pathway. Once out of the air vent, you'll want to turn right to head back the way you came through the fuse door. Then follow the pathway round to the left to get back to the room where you came down the stairs. There's another fuse door ahead, so if you didn't bring enough fuses in with you, check the box at the top of the staircase, before heading through the gate to the right of the foot of the steps. The next fuse door is on your left, if you follow the sign to the food court. Now sometimes with fuse doors you'll encounter an issue where the prompt doesn't appear. Work around this, drop the fuse out your backpack onto the floor. Then using your tractor beam, pick it up and rotate it next to the insertion point until the outline goes green. Then let go and it will snap into place, activating the door. Push on to the end of this corridor and head through the blast door at the end. Then head right around the next bit, and on your right hand side you'll see the first blue security door, so use the keycard you picked up in the clinic to head on through that. Then follow the food court signs to the left, pushing on through the ominous red glowing corridor until you reach a balcony where you can drop down to your right hand side. As you pass the "No More Greed, No More Cops" graffiti, you'll see an elevator shaft on your left hand side. Take this little elevator up to the floor above. And here you'll find the second blue keycard printer, so grab that one and then make your way back down. At the end of this room you'll find the second blue security door, so make your way through to the other side of that using your keycard. On the other side of the bridge there's an elevator that will take you to Hangar 30, the final room of the Orbituary CZ. Again, you can use the high ground here effectively to take on the NPCs from range, fighting your way to the opposite end of the hangar. For the second comp board, look on the right hand side for this gap in the crates. You'll find the printer in there. The Orbituary CZ is something of a looter's paradise, with an absolute ton of weapons and components dotted around that you can chuck onto the cargo elevator at the end. And when you're done looting, just make your way to the personnel elevator on the opposite wall to where you got the comp board and exit the zone. It's worth noting that while you can of course get all the blue keycards you need in the Orb CZ, the ones at Checkmate are easier to farm. If you get all 3 of Checkmate's, you'll always end up with 1 spare every time you run it. Blue keycards in Orb are more of a side trip, and in particular that elevator can be a bit of a bottleneck point if you get caught out by other players on your way up or down. So you could always build up a stack of blue cards running Checkmate, and then take a spare blue card or 2 in with you to Orb, just to make that run a bit quicker and easier. 5 comp boards down, 2 to go, and for the last ones we're heading to Ruin Station, where we'll find the Ghost Arena CZ. Ghost Arena is a bit different to the other 2, and honestly the variety between the 3 levels is a really good thing. It's probably the best one to go to if you're just looking for some out and out PvP fights. Ruin is the only one of the three where you don't need any red or blue keycards, and it can be done purely with fuses, which are plentiful in the zone. Instead, you'll find a central arena, with 4 pathways coming off it. The vault contains all of the loot, including the comp boards. It operates on a timer, remaining closed for around 20 minutes, and then opening up for around 1 minute at a time. To access most of the loot, you'll need 3 keycards, each of which can be acquired from one of the other 3 pathways: the Last Resort, the Crypt, and the Wasteland. For entry, we tended to use Gate A, as this puts you up on the higher ground and gives you a better view of down below. Good for when there's already a bit of PvP going on, or for thinning NPC numbers before you make your way down to the lowest level where you'll find the entrance to the pathways. It's worth noting that each of the 3 side chambers is a very straightforward path, where you can only really go in one main direction to the keycard. And if you're only after the comp boards, then you only need the key from the Crypt pathway. The Last Resort and the Wasteland keycards just open 2 additional chambers which contain lootable components and guns. We'll grab this one in the vid, just in the interest of time, since the other 2 pathways are incredibly similar. Just to show you that you press on through the linear route until reaching the keycard printer. One thing you will notice though is off to the side of each of the pathways is a coward's exit. These elevators will take you straight back out of the CZ into the station without having to run back through the main chamber. These mean that you can fight your way in, get through the fuse door and grab 1 keycard, and then exit to bank them before coming back in to try for more. Considering how exposed the main floor is, this wouldn't be a bad idea, particularly for solo players. You can build up a collection of the cards on your own, so that maybe when you've got a couple of mates on, you can head in with your cards prepared for a run at the vault. So with your cards at the ready, you'll need to camp out the vault door to watch for the sign switching from vault closed to vault opening on that 20-minute timer. There's no way to tell immediately how long it has left, but if you do see the vault opening up and you're not ready to go in, you can always set a timer for 20 minutes and make sure to run in when it's due to open next time. Make for the entrance and be vigilant for other players emerging from the shadows looking to do the same as you. Inside, there will usually be 2 heavy NPCs at the far end of the tunnel who are pretty tanky bullet sponges. Then just be sure to wait for the door to close behind you, preventing anyone else from getting inside and shooting you in the back. If someone does, it can make sense to tractor beam their body inside the door, as they might have cards on them that you can steal, either to supplement the ones you already have, or if you didn't get all 3, or to give you some spares for another run another time. After about a minute, the doors should close, and you can push on. The main loot chamber is the one strung with lights, and it will have 3 graffitied blast doors that match the 3 keycards. The crypt door, which is marked with a green X, you'll find the comp board printer for number 5. Just be careful, once you've used your card to open the door, coming back out is a one-way trip. So make sure that you've moved any loot you like the look of out of the room and got the comp board before you exit. If you're in a crew and there's a timer on the board printer, just make sure one of you stays in the room so that they can let the others back in if you need to go back and forth to the freight elevator at all. To get the final card, head back out of the loot chamber and look for the stacked orange crates. We want to climb these up to where Johnny is to get to the printer. And once you've done looting, you can head to the exit elevator and bank your cards for the final time. Then gather your full set in one place and get ready for the Executive Hangar run. Now that we're in possession of all 7 comp boards, we can make a run at the Exec Hangar and try to get some of the best loot in the game, along with one of 5 high-level ships. The Exec Hangar asteroid base can be found near the Pyro Star. Just search for Pyam-X-Hang in the star map. As I mentioned at the very beginning, this whole loop is something you could do solo. Honestly, if you do attempt it like that, then I would go in being ready to lose it all at this stage. So long as you've got multiple copies and you can live with getting capped and losing them to a better prepared team, then by all means you do you. But personally, this is something I'd only attempt with some friends to watch my back. You'll need to bring all of your cards with you to activate the hangar, but you can send in some of your party members ahead to go and check out the hangars and see which are active. While they do this, without anything on them to lose, you can hang back and wait for them to secure the site before moving in with the comp boards. At the nav marker, there are 3 identical asteroid bases. Usually there'll be some AI ships around too, but honestly they're nothing to worry about. Be much more on the lookout for those other players. The entry points to the hangar bases look like this, but honestly they'll usually be pretty obvious given the graveyard of ships around the doors. So jet up to them and then EVA into the airlock. Give the window a check, then cycle. If you run up to the viewing window straight in front of the door, you'll see a series of lights, green and ideally red. The hangars operate on a cycle. They'll charge up for 2 hours, then they will be active for 1 hour before shutting down again. When the hangar starts charging, all of the lights will be red. One will then turn green every 24 minutes. Then once the 5 lights are all green, they're going to start shutting off at a rate of 1 every 12 minutes. So this hangar here is in charge up mode. Since we've got 2 green lights, it's at least 48 minutes into its 2-hour charge up time, meaning this will be available in between 49 and 72 minutes. Technically, the 3 hangars at the location are meant to rotate, so one is active at a time, meaning your best bet is to look around them to see if you've got any active or close to it. However, a little frustratingly, a lot of the hangars are bugged. If you don't see any lights at all, chances are you've got a dud hangar, and your best bet is to server hop. That being said, we did find that all the lights sometimes appear to be off if you haven't been on the server when they last changed, so it can be worth giving it a bit of time and coming back to check on ones you dismissed earlier. But thankfully, after a bit of server hopping and luck, Johnny and Flint found a working hangar with 1 more tick left to go, and I was able to come in with Ravnak and the comp boards. I brought my Connie with me so that if we had any good loot we could use it as a cargo ship to bring it out. And then we settled in for the wait, and as a team of 4 we decided to be a bit stealthy, putting 3 of us defending from the inside of the base while Flint floated around in EVA outside to watch for anyone trying to come in through the airlock, which did pay off quite nicely as we were able to ambush our attempted ambushers as they tried to come in. Once you've got the 5 green lights, it's time to unlock the hangar. Head down the side through the blast doors and enter the EVA area. The first 3 boards will go into these 3 slots immediately on the pipe as you come in. Just give them a wee bit of time as they'll come out of your backpack. The slots for the others are on the right and left of the walkway and are marked with green spray painted X's. With all 7 boards inserted, the doors will open and you can head down the walkway to the elevator. It's not that long a wait, but after all this effort, this will probably feel like the longest amount of time in Star Citizen. Just keep an eye back the way you came to make sure no sneaky ambushers are coming for you. Once the elevator comes, hit either hangar access A or B. It's the same hangar, just 2 different doors. Then make a beeline straight to the far end of the hangar. The loot can wait, you want to claim the ship first and foremost. With the hangar open, anyone who gets to that terminal can claim the ship if they get there first. So theoretically, if you've got other players hot on your heels, they could wipe out your squad and take the ship for themselves. On a slightly more holistic note though, you'll see which ship it is on the screen, and if you've already got that one, you could always just give it to a member of your party. Click claim, and that ship is now yours forever. Just to be sure, and to look at how shiny it is, hit retrieve. Then get to looting. You'll find components and cool rare items like railguns, grenade launchers dotted around the sides of the hangar. Retrieving the ship will also open the hangar door, allowing one of your crew to bring the cargo ship up to the door, letting you load parts. And unfortunately, those guys that we killed in the airlock weren't too happy with us, and they came to pew-pew us while we were doing this part. Sadly, expecting poor Johnny to go full evasive in a Connie that started the wrong way round would have probably been asking a bit too much of him. But we did come back later and retrieve some of the components in our Polaris. Doing this again, since I have a bunch of spare comp boards built up from recording this guide, I would likely come with a few more people, and have an element on patrolling combat ships outside to intercept anyone else and ensure that we get the loot out. But for this guide, I wanted to avoid saying, look, this is so easy, I brought 12 Orkmates with me. So there you have it. I'm going to enjoy my shiny new F7A Mark II with its sweet loadout, and I'll be back to try and get some of the other Executive Hangar ships. As well as the F7A, there's also chances of the F8C, Drake Cutty Black, Drake Corsair or Gatak Sulan. and each can spawn with either a military focused or stealth focused loadout, so there's plenty of incentive to keep running the loop. I really hope you enjoyed the guide and that it's encouraged you to give this a go. For less PvP oriented players, I know it can be a bit daunting. I know it was for me, but honestly, I had such a great time even though I'm not the hottest PvP player. With a bit of practice, even I was able to find myself getting a few kills, and particularly with a team around you, it can be a whole lot of fun. I would like to say a big thank you to Flint and Johnny for their help with this, but especially to Ravnak who really handheld me through the whole thing, helping me get my head around each part and imparting a lot of tips and tricks that I've hoped to pass on in this guide. If you did find this video useful, then please do drop a like, and if you think I've earned it, hit the subscribe button to stay tuned for more content. Currently in the process of refreshing all of my guides, and I really wanted to do this one as a way to show people how to unlock the more advanced loadouts that we use in the others, although we'll also be looking at pure store-bought loadouts, and honestly they aren't significantly worse. If you really like what I do, then honestly just by watching the videos, dropping a comment and sharing them with your friends, you're already doing more than enough. If you do want to take things a step further and contribute to Editor Loud's Burrito Fund, then I do have a Patreon which you'll find down in the vid description. With all that said, I just want to say thank you very much for watching all the way to the end, and I look forward to seeing you next time.